1, 2, 3.
Welcome to the Rob Newman podcast.
Today's podcast is regarding one of my most recent favourite books. I've mentioned it a couple of times in things, and I've certainly been talking about it with people. Jordan Peterson's The 12 Rules for Life, An Antidote to Chaos. I started hearing about Jordan Peterson probably 18 months, 2 years ago now. I got it from Joe Rogan. He's been a guest on there 3 or 4 times. Jordan Peterson, or Professor Jordan Peterson, is Professor of Psychology at the University of Toronto in Canada. My notes. He is quite a controversial figure, especially after an interview with Kathy Newman on Channel 4 attracted very strong emotions and opinions. Categorizing Jordan Peterson himself is quite difficult. A lot of people on the left think he's very right-wing, and a lot of people on the right-wing think he's very left-wing. I think Jordan Peterson Professor Peterson is very well-read and has a great depth of knowledge myself. And his book, 12 Rules for Life, An Antidote to Chaos, is one of the most well-researched pieces that I have read in quite a long time. When I first did it, I listened to it on Audible. I would urge anyone on Audible, if you don't want to sit and read, it's not your thing. I have also directly read the book. The text combines a lot of learning, old and new. There's a lot of ancient tradition in there. He talks a lot about the Bible. He talks of other cultures with cutting-edge research that has come from his academic work. It is very much geared at order and stability. And one of the great catchphrases that comes away from it is make a damn schedule. Jordan Peterson's clinical work has led him to believe that schedule and distinct amount of structure can significantly help in most psychiatric illness. He doesn't claim it cures it. He believes psychiatric illness is real, but that getting up on time and eating regular meals and taking physical care and having a damn schedule actually significantly contributes to stability within the individual. The book is a broad, sweeping arc with facts about evolution, religion, philosophy that complement his personal experience and the arguments he has. And the original stimulus for it came from his Quora answers that he used to put out. He wrote one of the most widely read answers ever on Quora. It had about 2.5, 3 million reads, and he's subsequently taken it down. And originally it was 50 odd rules to life, which were condensed into 12 essays. The actual rules are, I'm going to have to read them so I don't remember. Stand up straight with your shoulders back. Treat yourself like someone you are responsible for helping. Make friends with the people who want the best for you. Compare yourself with who you were yesterday, not with who someone else is today. Do not let your children do anything that makes you dislike them. Set your house in perfect order before you criticize the world. Pursue what is meaningful, not what is expedient. Tell the truth, or at least don't lie. Assume that the person you're listening to might know something you don't. Be precise in speech. Don't bother children when they are skateboarding. And 12, pet a cat when you encounter one on the street. Now, those topics themselves might sound yee-haw, woo-woo, what on earth has that got to do with everything? But Jordan Peterson sets them out in a way that is a logical sequence of instruction, thought-provoking guidance. The 3 lessons I certainly took away from it. Again, little my own notes here. Lesson number one I certainly took away. Before you judge the world, take responsibility for your own life. It's very easy to jump on everybody else, and particularly in this age of social media, particularly with videos like this going out, it's very easy to criticize. It's very easy to take an expedient shortcut route and live for the moment. But look at yourself first. Address what's in you first. What is missing? What the gap is? What Camus would refer to as the absurdity of living. Find what is meaningful in your own life. And again, I touched on this in some of these other podcasts. The 4 phases that come out of this, Jordan Peterson talks about in terms of Leo Tolstoy. 1, ignorance. You don't know that this absurdity gap, this judgment of the world actually exists. 2, a complete loss into hedonism. 3, the suicidal quest. Or 4, holding on and finding meaning. And certainly if you do read any of the existentialists, most of them came to the conclusion that life itself had no specific meaning. It was only the pursuit of the experience. In many respects, that's Jordan Peterson's stance as well, and it's certainly mine, which is maybe why it spoke to me. But what it does say is, no matter how unfair life gets, don't blame the world. Look at yourself. See how you can adjust and adapt and overcome yourself. Responsibility. Find a burden to shoulder and carry that responsibility. So that's lesson 1 that comes out of it. Lesson 2, for me, care for yourself like you would care for a loved one. About 1/3 of people who get a prescription for a medication from a doctor never take the medication. Now, if that was your dog, 100% you would give them the meds. Nobody goes to a vet with their pet and ignores what the advice and the suggestion is. And yet so many times we do that ourselves. So many times we eat the junk food as opposed to the vegetables. So many times we stay up all night playing video games as opposed to sleeping. We can't be bothered rather than going for a walk. And again, one of the recurring themes that I always have through this is 30 to 60 minutes of walking a day will take care of most of your exercise needs if you're not into exercise. If exercise is something you actually enjoy doing, then that's a different thing. But in terms of physical maintenance and care, think of your body as a car. Right? When you pass your test, you're 17, you pass your test. If you were told you could only ever have one car for the entirety of your life, don't you think you'd take care of it? Don't you think you'd put that premium fuel in as opposed to the rubbish? Take care of yourself as you would a loved one. Now, it's obvious, but a lot of us don't do it. Lesson 3. Seek meaning through sacrifice, not happiness through pleasure. Think about that one. That's the hardest one to get. Seek meaning through sacrifice, not happiness through pleasure. I take that away. The weight and burden of responsibility is what, to me, gives any life meaning. And certainly if you've chosen the path of small business, which is going to be the people that are listening to this or watching this, you have chosen to shoulder a burden, to carry a responsibility and seek something that is different to other people. You have set out to put yourself in a path that is different than most people. You have invited responsibility. That is suggesting that you as an individual are going to seek meaning in accepting that. And if you are of that nature, and certainly my clientele in the accountancy side of things I do have that, even if they don't talk about it in those words, they know that there is a lot more satisfaction in a longer term pursuit and living that pursuit than there is in the immediate gratification. I get that there's short-term measures along the way, and I get this isn't any sort of anti-materialism, anti-shiny things, because I love materialism and shiny things, but the pathway that takes you there is far more than the end result. Again, to give my martial arts a shout out here, it's easy to go and buy a black belt and tie it around your waist. A nice black belt will cost you 25 quid, but it's meaningless. The path that took you to becoming the black belt is what is meaningful in this. The path that takes you to developing and growing your business, the path that takes you through that process of self-discovery is what is meaningful, not having multi-million pounds in the bank. It's why lottery winners go wrong. It's why lottery winners so often end up with nothing, because they never experience the growth that getting that end result took them through. So that's me. That's mine. The conclusions I would have, referring back to my little notes here, assume that life is hard and there is suffering. Prepare yourself for it. That's a very Buddhist way of looking at things. Buddhism is, in truth, the closest religion I am to. I don't believe myself to be religious, but Buddhism is almost where I get to. Take responsibility for your actions. Be prepared to sacrifice yourself. Pay attention to what is happening around you. Harsh Learnings, fantastic book. Really encourage you to read it. For me, one of the best of all times. I'm going to do a few more of these over time. I'm certainly going to talk about my favourite writer of all, Albert Camus, who absolutely did change my life while sitting in the back of a Bedford lorry in the army. But that's for another day. Next one of these is probably going to be tax. Thank you very much for listening. See you soon on the Rob Newman podcast.
Thank you for listening. Please remember that all of the views and opinions expressed by Rob are personal opinions and not professional advice.